National VIPs, President and Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of the Philippines, His Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Secretary of National Defense, Honorable Delphin Negrillo Lorenzana. Military VIPs, Chief of Staff of Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Andres C. Centino of Armed Forces of the Philippines. Commanding General of Philippine Army, General Romeo S. Browner Jr., Armed Forces of the Philippines. Commander of Army Reserve Command, Major General Fernando V. Pilepe, Philippine Army. Group Commander of 9th Regional Community Defense Group, Colonel Patricio S. Tumales, Infantry General Staff Corps, Philippine Army. Commanding Officer of 902nd Zamboanga del Norte Community Defense Center, Major Eladio V. Lumantas, Civil Engineer of Philippine Army. President of Jose Rizal Memorial State University System, Dr. Dailinda R. Lapor. National Service Training Program Director, Dr. Richard G. Daimil. National Service Training Program Unit Head, Dr. Noel G. Lopicilio. Commandant of GRMSU Army ROTC Unit, Major Eladio V. Lumantas, Civil Engineer of Philippine Army. Assistant Commandant, Second Lieutenant Nicanor B. Obnimaga, Reserve Philippine Army. Chief Clerk, Corporal Roderick C. Acoimo, Infantry Philippine Army. Tactical Officer, Captain Cesar C. Bala, Reserve Philippine Army. And Second Lieutenant Jupiter M. Villaros, Reserve Philippine Army. Senior Tactical of Non-Commissioned Officer Reservist, Admin Non-Commissioned Officer, Sergeant Jornel R. Lapot, Reserve Philippine Army. Tactical Non-Commissioned Officer Reservist, Private First Class Junri A. Maglasang, Infantry Philippine Army. Staff Sergeant Gerald Rich It Soto, Reserve Philippine Army. Staff Sergeant Michael Ray Elvin S. Buriros, Reserve Philippine Army. Sergeant Nancy E. Aronias, Reserve Philippine Army. Sergeant Maynard O. Comisilia, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Rodel G. Patangan, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Richie A. De La Rosa, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Charlene E. Tagapan, Reserve Philippine Army. Graduate Military Assistant, Private Adams N. Sumalpong, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Nilo B. Lagradilla, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Jefferson Panglinawan, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Rico Jack G. Tawataw, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Glenmar G. Olinan, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Shahara May M. Jalin, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Gisrel M. Pasculado, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Vincent Jubilee G. Cadano, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Ray R. Dayaw, Reserve Philippine Army. Private John Ray P. Baladares, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Juvenry E. Sakal, Reserve Philippine Army. Private John Prit C. Cuenca, Reserve Philippine Army. Private John Paul P. Rong, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Michelle B. Andicoy, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Vance Alistair Il Pagasian, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Mark Jel is Lagamon, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Glycel Faith D. Carino, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Glyza Claire C. Canuog, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Gisaline Ilopre, Reserve Philippine Army. Private Mibel B. Singkay, Reserve Philippine Army. Brigade Corps Commander, Cadet Colonel G.P. Montederamos, ROTC First Class, Executive Officer / Disciplinary Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Roderick L. Cadorna, ROTC First Class. Brigade S1 Adjutant Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Bliss T. Manlupig, ROTC First Class. Brigade S2 Intelligence Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ronel B. Bailon, ROTC First Class. Brigade S3 Operation Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Ramel P. Samson, ROTC First Class. Brigade S4 Logistic Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Shilami P. Azores, ROTC First Class. Brigade S7 Liaison Officer, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jamaica Isla Gudas, ROTC First Class. 1st Battalion Commander, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Jumari T. Usabel, ROTC First Class. 2nd Battalion Commander, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel G. Ford C. Perigora, ROTC First Class. 1st Battalion Executive Officer Disciplinary, Cadet Major John Mark T. Clemenya, ROTC First Class. Battalion S1 Adjutant, Cadet Major Kathleen Rose E. Apaw, ROTC First Class. Battalion S2 Intelligence, Cadet Major Jericho T. Osabel, ROTC First Class. Battalion S3 Operation, Cadet Major Jason A. Hamarulen, ROTC First Class. Battalion S4 Logistic, Cadet Major Maria Alona Jane B. Alfon, ROTC First Class. Battalion S7 Liaison, Cadet Major Chinley R. Selva, ROTC First Class. 2nd Battalion Executive Officer Disciplinary, Cadet Major Brian P. Banuelos, ROTC First Class. Battalion S1 Adjutant, Cadet Major Rubilin B. Magnawong, ROTC First Class. Battalion S2 Intelligence, Cadet Major Hansel D. Susubrado, ROTC First Class. Battalion S3 Operation, Cadet Major Remark O. Lakay, ROTC First Class. Battalion S4 Logistic, Cadet Major Merjoy C. Maghinay, ROTC First Class. Battalion S7 Liaison, Cadet Major Ruila Bernadette B. Kinlag, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Mary Chris A. Lidama, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Aaron G. Kalasang, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Stephen J. F. Tacliad, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Juvenal P. Katilok, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Christian G. Sardani, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Aryan P. N. Palangan, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major B. Janela G. Caniete, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Gino A. Carbonilla, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Kent O. Dampayla, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Remart S. Anyo, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Brittany Diagit, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Rickman V. Cabanag, ROTC First Class. Cadet Major Mark Jen L. Prociso, ROTC First Class. Cadet Captain Lester B. D. Ikaw, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Richard S. Samoras, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Joseph B. Miral, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Erwin T. Palomares, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Aurelio L. Flores Jr., ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Ken Troy F. Maghanoy, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Ruben Vincent A. Sumanduran, ROTC Second Class. Cadet Captain Jefferson N. Makiling, ROTC Second Second Class Cadet Captain Blaze Jason H. Iting, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain May Angel S. Kunato, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain Rimar V. Bimos, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain June Kenneth B. Dicerdo, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain Jonathan D. Gumanad, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain Kevin M. Dilicano, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain Lin Chi Kyle S. Abapo, ROTC Second Class Cadet Captain Lovell Jen T. Maginsay, ROTC Second Class. Military professionalism. Men who adopt the profession of arms submit their own free will to the law of perpetual constraints of their own accord. They reject their right to live where they choose, to say what they think, to dress as they like. From the moment they become soldiers, it needs but an order to settle them in this place, to move them to that, and to separate them from their families and dislocate their normal lives. In the world of command, they must rise, march, run, endure bad weather, and go out without sleep or food, but isolated in some distant post, work until they drop. They have ceased to be mastered of their own fate. If they drop on their tracks, their ashes shall be scattered in the four winds. That is all part and parcel of their own job. Pledge of loyalty. If you work for a man, in heaven's name, work for him, speak well for him, and stand by the institution that he represents. Remember, an ounce of loyalty is worth a pan of cleverness. If you must growl, condemn, and internally find fault, why not resign your position? And when you are in the outside, dumb to your heart's content. But as long as you are part in this institution, do not condemn it. If you do, the first high wind that comes along will blow you away, and probably you'll never know why. Military courtesy, an act of politeness, civility, and respect that a personnel in a military organization accord to one another. Military discipline, it is the state of orders and obedience within a command. Military leadership, it is the process of influencing men in such a manner as to accomplish the mission. Military secrecy, what you see, what you hear, when you leave it here. Salute, it is the highest form of courtesy. 11 general orders. First, to take charge of dispose in all governed property and view. Second, to walk my post in a military manner, keeping always on alert and observing everything that takes place within sight or hearing. Third, to report all violence of orders I am instructed to enforce. Fourth, to repeat the calls from posts more distance from the guardhouse than my own. Fifth, to quit my post only when properly relieved. Sixth, to receive, obey, and pass on the sentinel who relieves me all orders from the commanding officer, officer of the day, non-commissioned officer of the guard only. 7. To talk to no one except in line of duty. 8. To give the alarm of any case of fire or disorder. 9. To call the commander of guard in any case not covered by instruction. 10. To salute all officers colored in and standard not case. 11. To be watchful at night and during the time of the challenging to challenge all persons on or near my post and allow no one to pass without proper authority.